Iran is not one story. It is many stories buried beneath deserts, mountains, and forgotten cities. Stand in Tehran today and you see highways, neon lights, glass towers, and millions of people moving through a modern capital. But rewind nearly 3,000 years, and this land becomes something else entirely. Dry plateaus, nomadic tribes, small settlements scattered between mountains and rivers. Civilization here does not grow easily. It must fight the land to exist. The Iranian plateau is unforgiving. Summers scorch the earth. Winters freeze the mountains. Rivers appear and vanish. Waters appear and vanish. Water is precious. Control the water and you control life. Lose it, and entire communities disappear. The earliest civilizations here are built not on comfort, but on survival. Across this harsh land, tribes begin to organize. Among them are peoples who speak early Iranian languages. Two of these groups rise above the others, the Medes and the Persians. They share culture, they share ancestry, but history will push them onto very different paths. By the 7th century BC, the Medes dominate the region. Their capital stands at Ecbatana, hidden among mountain valleys. From here, they helped destroy the once mighty Assyrian Empire. For a moment, it seems the Medes will control the destiny of this land. But power is rarely permanent. In the south, another force begins to grow. Quietly, patiently, this rising power is Persia, a small kingdom in the region known as Persis. At first, it is little more than a minor state under Median control. But within it rises a leader with unusual ambition, a man whose name will echo through history. Cyrus the Great, around 550 BC. Cyrus challenges the Median king. Armies gather, battles are fought, and against expectation, the Persians win. The Medes fall. Persia takes their place. But Cyrus is not satisfied with ruling one region. He wants something far larger. Cyrus begins expanding outward, west toward Anatolia, south toward Mesopotamia, east toward Central Asia. Kingdom after kingdom collapses before his armies. Cities surrender, others fall in battle. The Persian Empire is born, and it grows faster than anyone imagined. One conquest stands above the rest: Babylon, one of the greatest cities of the ancient world. When Cyrus enters Babylon in 539 BC, he does something unusual. He does not destroy the city. He respects its traditions. He allows local religions to continue. Instead of ruling through terror, he rules through stability. This policy transforms the empire. People under Persian rule are not forced to abandon their cultures. Instead, they become part of something larger, a system that connects dozens of nations: Egyptians, Babylonians, Greeks, Jews, Lydians, all living under the same imperial structure. Within a few decades, Persia becomes the largest empire the world has ever seen. From the Mediterranean Sea to the mountains of India, millions of people now live under Persian authority. But size alone does not hold an empire together. It requires order, administration, control. And that task falls to the next great ruler. His name is Darius the Great. Darius transforms Persia from conquest into structure. He divides the empire into provinces called satrapies. Each region has its own governor. But loyalty belongs to the emperor. Taxes flow to the center. Armies remain ready. The empire becomes a machine. Roads stretch across deserts and mountains. The most famous is the Royal Road, a highway nearly 3,000 kilometers long. Messengers ride day and night. Information moves faster than ever before. For The first time in history an empire can truly communicate with itself. At the heart of this world stands Persepolis, a ceremonial capital carved into massive stone terraces. Columns rise like forests. Reliefs carved into stone show delegates from every corner of the empire. They bring tribute, gold, textiles, animals, precious stones. Persia is no longer just a kingdom. It is the center of the ancient world, but no empire remains unchallenged forever. Far to the west, small Greek city-states refuse Persian rule. They are tiny compared to Persia, but they are stubborn, and conflict begins to grow. Soon, the Aegean Sea will become a battlefield. Massive Persian armies march toward Greece. Ships cross the sea. Battles erupt at Marathon, at Thermopylae, at Salamis. Some victories belong to Persia, others to the Greeks. But something important changes. The world begins to see that Persia can be resisted. More than a century passes. Persia still dominates the Near East. Its cities are rich. Its roads connect continents. But beyond the western horizon, a new power begins to rise. A kingdom once considered insignificant, Macedonia. Macedonia, and its young king with impossible ambition. His name is Alexander the Great. In 334 BC, he crosses into Persian territory with a relatively small army. But speed becomes his weapon. Battle after battle shatters Persian defenses. Cities fall. Satraps surrender. The empire that once seemed unbreakable begins to fracture. At Issus, at Gaugamela, Persian armies clash with Alexander's forces. The Persian king Darius III flees the battlefield. The road to the imperial heartland opens. Alexander marches deeper into Persia. History begins to tilt. Eventually, Alexander enters Persepolis, the great palace of the Persian kings, treasuries filled with gold and silver, symbols of imperial power. But celebration turns into destruction. Parts of the palace are burned. The ancient capital becomes a ruin. An empire collapses in firelight. For a moment, Persia belongs to Alexander, but his empire is fragile. After his death, it shatters into rival kingdoms. Greek rulers control Persia for generations, but the land itself begins to resist foreign control, and slowly a new power rises from the east. The Parthian Empire emerges, nomadic horsemen turned kings, masters of speed and mobility. Their archers fire arrows while riding at full gallop. Their armies appear and disappear across deserts. Persia returns to Iranian rule. The Parthians become the great rival of Rome. For centuries, the two empires face each other across the Middle East. Roman legions march east. Parthian horsemen ride west. Neither side truly conquers the other. Their frontier becomes one of the most contested borders of the ancient world. Trade flows through Persia. Caravans cross deserts, carrying silk from China, spices from India, glass from Rome. 27. Ideas travel with them. Languages mix, religions spread. Persia becomes the bridge between civilizations. Eventually, the Parthian dynasty weakens. Internal struggles divide the empire. From within Persia itself, a new dynasty rises, the Sasanian Empire. Their rulers promise a return to ancient glory, and for a time they succeed. The Sasanians rebuild Persian power. Cities expand, fortresses guard borders. Art and architecture flourish. Zoroastrianism becomes a central pillar of the state. Persia once again stands as one of the great empires of the world. But history rarely allows empires to rest. To the west, Rome remains an enemy. War follows war. Generations grow up knowing nothing but conflict. The two superpowers of the ancient world drain each other's strength, and while they fight, something new begins in Arabia. In the early 7th century, Arab armies inspired by the new religion of Islam surge outward. They move with speed and belief. The exhausted Persian Empire struggles to respond. Battles are fought across Mesopotamia and Persia. One by one, Persian armies fall. The Sasanian Empire collapses. After more than 4 centuries of rule, the political structure of ancient Persia disappears. But Persian culture refuses to vanish. Instead, it adapts and begins shaping the new Islamic world. Persian scholars write poetry and philosophy. Scientists study astronomy and medicine. Cities like Isfahan and Shiraz become centers of art and knowledge. Persian language spreads through courts and literature. Even without an empire, Persia remains influential. Centuries pass. Dynasties rise and fall. Turkic rulers, local Persian kings, foreign conquerors, each leaves marks on the land. But Persian identity survives every invasion, quietly waiting for another rebirth. For centuries, Persia exists inside larger empires. Caliphates rise, dynasties change. But beneath every political shift, Persian culture continues breathing. Poetry fills royal courts. Philosophers write in candlelit libraries. Merchants cross deserts carrying silk, carpets, and spices. The empire may be gone. The civilization is not. Then the sky darkens again. From the far eastern steppes come riders unlike any before. Armies that move like storms across the land. Cities fall in days. Walls collapse. Libraries burn. The Mongols have arrived. In the 13th century, Mongol armies sweep through Persia. Resistance is crushed with terrifying speed. Entire populations disappear. Cities that once held tens of thousands become silent ruins. The destruction is so vast that some regions take generations to recover. Persia enters one of the darkest chapters of its history, yet even the Mongols cannot erase the land completely. Over time, the conquerors settle. They adopt local customs. They govern from Persian cities. The culture they once threatened begins to shape them instead. Once again, Persia absorbs its conquerors. Centuries pass. New dynasties rise from within the Iranian plateau. Among them, one family changes the country forever. The Safavids. Their rise in the early 16th century transforms Persia into something new. A powerful, centralized state and a distinct religious identity. Under the Safavids, Iran declares Shia Islam as the official religion. This decision reshapes the nation's future. Across the region, religious identity becomes part of political power. The Safavid rulers build magnificent cities. Mosques rise with turquoise domes. Markets fill with traders from distant lands. The city of Isfahan becomes the jewel of the empire. Wide boulevards, grand squares, bridges stretching across the Zande River. Travelers from Europe and Asia arrive in awe. Persia is once again a center of wealth and culture, but power attracts enemies. The Ottoman Empire presses from the west. Central Asian forces threaten from the east. War becomes constant. For generations, Persia defends its borders against powerful rivals. Eventually, the Safavid dynasty weakens. Court politics grow corrupt. The empire fragments. Foreign powers begin watching Persia more closely, because the world itself is changing and new global empires are rising. By the 19th century, Persia faces pressure from Russia and Britain. Both seek influence in the region. Both want access to trade routes and resources. Persia becomes a battlefield of diplomacy. caught between larger powers, struggling to maintain independence inside the country. Calls for reform grow louder. Intellectuals demand modernization. Merchants demand fair government. Ordinary people demand stability. In the early 20th century, Persia begins transforming into modern Iran. Railways appear across the land. Factories rise near major cities. Schools begin teaching modern sciences. The country tries to balance tradition with progress. But change rarely comes without conflict. By the mid-20th century, Iran stands at a crossroads. Modernization accelerates. Cities grow. Oil becomes the engine of the economy. But political tensions grow as well. Between reform and tradition, between monarchy and revolution. In 1979, everything changes. Mass protests sweep across the nation. The monarchy collapses. The Iranian Revolution reshapes the country completely. Iran becomes an Islamic republic. A new system replaces centuries of monarchy. The modern era begins with uncertainty. War with Iraq devastates cities and borders. International tensions reshape the economy. Yet life continues. Universities expand. Technology spreads. Cities grow larger than ever before. Iran enters the 21st century carrying the weight of thousands of years of history. The 21st century arrives quickly. Iran is no longer an empire of kings. It is a modern nation navigating a complicated world. Satellite dishes rise above old neighborhoods. Cars fill highways that cross ancient landscapes. History and modern life now exist side by side. Tehran grows into one of the largest cities in the Middle East. Millions live beneath the shadow of the Alborz Mountains. Subways run beneath crowded streets. Universities produce engineers, scientists, and artists. A young population looks toward the future. But the past never disappears. Across the country, ancient ruins still stand. Persepolis, Pasargadae, Isfahan. Stone columns and turquoise domes remind the nation of its long memory. Empires once ruled here. Armies once marched through these valleys. The land remembers everything. Modern Iran balances tradition and technology. Smartphones glow in the hands of students. Ancient poetry is still recited in homes and schools. Families celebrate festivals that began thousands of years ago. Old customs live beneath modern streets. Politics remain complex. International tensions rise and fall. Economic pressures test the resilience of the population. Yet through every challenge, the nation adapts, because survival has always been part of its history. This land has seen conquerors from every direction: Assyrians, Greeks, Romans, Arabs, Mongols. Foreign powers came and went, but the civilization endured, sometimes weakened, sometimes reborn. Iran's story is not a straight path. It is a cycle. Empires rise, empires collapse, cities burn, cities are rebuilt. Each generation inherits both the glory and the scars of the past. Today's Iran stands on layers of history. Beneath modern Tehran lie ancient settlements. Beneath those lie forgotten villages. Each layer represents another life of the civilization, another chapter in a story that refuses to end. From the empire of Cyrus the Great to the revolutions of the modern era, nearly 3,000 years have passed. Kings have ruled. Dynasties have fallen. Borders have changed again and again. But the land remains, and the people remain. Farmers still cultivate fields that were worked by ancient hands. Caravans have become highways. Horse riders have become airplanes. Yet the rhythm of life continues. Work, family, tradition, memory. Iran today looks both forward and backward. New cities rise. technology spreads. At the same time, ancient heritage remains deeply rooted. Poetry written centuries ago still shapes language. Architecture from long-gone dynasties still shapes skylines. Few civilizations on Earth have endured so many transformations. Empire, conquest, religion, revolution, modernization. Each era reshaped the country, yet none erased it completely. Because Iran's story is not simply about rulers, it is about persistence, about people rebuilding after collapse, about culture surviving when power disappears, about memory lasting longer than empires. From the deserts of ancient Persia to the crowded streets of modern Tehran, the same land has witnessed thousands of years of human struggle and ambition. Empires believed they were eternal. But history proved otherwise. Only the civilization endured. Iran has risen, fallen, and risen again more times than history can easily count. From tribal kingdoms to one of the greatest empires the world has known, to the complex nation that stands today, the story is still unfolding, because civilizations do not end, they transform. And somewhere beneath the deserts and mountains of Iran, history is already preparing the next chapter. If you enjoyed this journey through the rise and rebirth of Iran, subscribe our channel for more deep dives into the world's greatest civilizations. And tell me in the comments, which civilization should we explore next? Because history never truly ends. It only waits to be rediscovered.